Greetings, everyone. My name is Jackie, aka Mama Achua. Um, I'm currently here in the UK. I was born in London. My parents are from Jamaica, and my background is in nursing. So I have a wealth of experience.
Hello and welcome to Obehi Podcast. I'm your host, Obehi A14, and I strongly believe that everyone has a story to share. Now let's get started into this episode.
Completed my training way back in 1987 and done lots of different things from medical, surgical, most recently working in NHS management, safeguarding children, looked after children, and I resigned 9 years ago to set up my own private health visiting consultancy, and that's basically working with children and families from 0 to 19, visiting them at home in terms of their health promotion, public health, etc., giving support and advice. And in that, one of my specialist areas is working with clients who have experienced pregnancy loss. I'm also a photographer, and at the moment, I've taken early retirement and I'm enjoying my life in London and Ghana.
That's beautiful. That is very beautiful. I see a lot of Jamaicans that are sort of having a link to Ghana. Is there any secret to that? In that they sometimes go there to relocate or to go there on a regular basis. Tell me, what is the secret?
What is the secret? Um, I mean, I love Jamaica. I have been there many, many times. And that's where my parents are from. I remember, I think the first trip that I remember when I was about 8 years old, I went to my auntie's wedding and subsequent visits since then. The connection between Ghana and Jamaica, for me, it's all to do with genealogy, family history, DNA. So I managed to trace my father's side of the family, doing research online, etc., back to 1820. And then I got stuck in terms of the slave registers. I couldn't quite figure things out there, too many options. So then I decided to go down the DNA testing route, had his DNA tested, and it came up as Togo, Benin, which were all part of Ghana. So that's the connection. In terms of my mother, I'm just waiting for her results to come back to see what the other side of the connection is. And for me personally, having been to Ghana a few times, and especially visiting Ebury up in the mountains, it is very much, well, actually, the whole of Ghana is very much like Jamaica in terms of the landscape, the food, the people. It's just
Okay,
oh
so let's try to know you a little bit better. So you were born in the UK. You were born in London, right?
yes.
hmm So, what would you want to tell us about the London of your time as you were growing up as a young adolescent? We so much love to hear that because you're no longer in that age anymore. But I want to believe that young
Oh
children want to
wow.
hear how it was in your time.
Oh, I guess my life was, I grew up with both my parents. They're still together. In fact, they celebrated their 60th wedding anniversary 2 weeks ago.
That's lovely
Um,
again.
yeah, very loving family, parents. I have two brothers and one sister. Um, yeah, life was, I guess, pretty normal. I grew up, went to school, had friends. I wouldn't say there's anything, really exciting about my life. One thing I'd like to say is I always wanted to be a doctor. And when I went to see the careers lady with my mother, remember this is back in the 70s, um, my dreams were quashed at that meeting because that lady wasn't very positive, and she said, "Oh, it will take you 9 years to become a doctor. Why don't you become a nurse?" Well, you tell me. I didn't look like a doctor to her, and so I, yeah, my life changed at that point because I obviously listened to her. My mum thought that, she was the expert and knew about these things. And so we didn't persist. I didn't pursue my passion to become a doctor. I became a nurse, which looking back at it now, being a nurse was fine. I enjoyed certain aspects of the role. And yeah, I don't really think I have any regrets about that. But that's just something in my childhood that I remember that really, reflecting on it now, wasn't as positive and encouraging as it could have been.
All right. So when you look at the young people that are growing up in London today, and you look at your time, and maybe you want to mm, you want to make a kind of comparison, what usually come to your mind? Because of course now you look at children growing up. Usually we all pass through the circle. No, you have been there, then you're here. It's not possible for you to be exactly that, but you're actually growing towards that. In that, when you become old, you become like a child, and then again, no. And so it's a cycle. It's always a cycle. But when you look at little children that are growing up and you look at how it was for your time, now that you're actually very energetic, what do you tell them? How do you see the difference?
Oh, there's a vast difference because right now, in terms of children growing up, they have so many options that weren't available at my time. They can be whoever they want to be. So, for example, the example I've just given, going to the careers lady and telling her I want to be a doctor, I was not encouraged. Whereas now, you know, if a young person wants to be a doctor, there's nothing really to stop them pursuing that career. They have so much more options than I did when I was a youth.
All right. Now let the stretch the argument out a little bit. Um, okay, if you were to be um, a traditional person from maybe Northern Ireland, you were born in the UK. Okay, that is one case. But now your parents are coming from Jamaica, you are born in the UK. That is a different case. From that point of view, I'm trying to understand how did you see your identity at the time when you were growing up as a child? What kind of question were you asking your parent? Because I want to believe that at least you could see that there was something sort of difference in the situation that you find yourself in, that you growing up in London, and you look at the majority of the people are not necessarily like you. Like maybe if you have grown up in Jamaica, or maybe if you have grew up in Ghana, or maybe if you were traditionally a German, you grew up in a German society, you can see the difference. It's impossible not to see it, and so it's also impossible not to ask questions. I have
Mm.
a child. My boy is 5 years old. Already is asking me a lot of questions related to things that you might not necessarily call it identity, but they actually identity. That we are curious. We are curious human beings. We want to know why certain things are just the way they are, and sometimes it is very important that we really have to do that because it
Mm.
triggers conversation. It triggers us talking and reflecting. So I'm sort of curious what you were asking your parents in the time that you were still very much young, growing up in London.
Okay, so myself and my younger brother, we were born in London, and my other two siblings, they were born in Jamaica. So for me, one of the questions that I, would ask my parents or my mother particularly is, why were they why were they left in Jamaica? Because they joined when they were 6 and 4 years old. So I was then two, and then my brother was born later. So no, I wasn't two. Sorry, I'm getting the years mixed up. But they joined later when they were quite young, actually. And she explained that at the time she wanted to come to England. My dad came first, she came after, and it wasn't possible for her to come with my siblings. So they were left for a while, and then a couple of years later they joined. In terms of difference, yeah, I guess they looked different, they spoke different, and It was as if we had two different cultures within the family, and we bonded and grew up.
There's a lot of richness there, no? There's a lot of richness there, where of course you have the possibility of able to have different version of the same reality.
Yes,
Isn't it?
yes, yes.
All right. What do you remember of Jamaica? Sorry that I'm just asking you these few questions just
That's
about the
okay.
background.
No problem.
All right. So what do you remember of Jamaica in your young age? Maybe you have visited there. Maybe your parents have told you about their story in Jamaica, or they living in Jamaica or visiting in Jamaica. Because now it is possible that we can have several generations now. But as a child, okay, now let me tell you why I'm saying this. My boy is 5 years, so a number of time he asked me, why are we not living in Africa? Why are we living
Yes,
in Italy? We should be in Africa, no? Because
yes.
for him, does it really, as a child,
This
you
is
don't really have
serious. Yeah.
limitation, no?
Mm,
You just let your curiosity flow in that you can ask anything you want to ask. So in this
mm.
sense, your parents are sort of compared to explain almost everything. So I'm trying to understand that in this time, what were you learning about Jamaica, even though you were not really there, you were in London?
My early memories of trips to Jamaica, really just, having fun, being free, being out with the children. My grandparents were both alive then, so it was really, a family affair. And my parents, they grew up, they lived next to each other. Okay, so they were neighbors.
I'm sort of
So
jealous of you, eh?
so when I went to Jamaica, my family were all there. Grandparents, uncles, aunts, cousins. One I and then the food. I just remember having fresh fruits. They were grown in the garden, everything from mangoes to oranges, pineapple, and the chickens. They were just, I guess we would say they were free range. They were just running. They were just, they were just living. They weren't cooped up. They were just living free. And I remember when I came back from one trip, it was Sunday, my mum had cooked chicken for dinner. And I wouldn't eat it. And she said, "What's the matter with you?" And I said, "Oh, I don't like your chicken. I like grandma's chicken." She said, "Oh, just eat the food." I said, "No, your chicken tastes like wood. I like grandma's chicken." And I cried and I wouldn't eat the thing. Okay. But looking back at it now, the reason why I like grandma's chicken is grandma's chicken was free range organic. It was fresh. Yes.
You see, even as a child, you could make that distinction there. That is so
Yes.
powerful.
I knew there was a difference, but I couldn't work out why. But now, I'm older, obviously I know that, that was free range chicken, eating, no hormones or chemicals. They were just eating whatever grandma fed them.
That's lovely. That's lovely. That is as close to the nature as it can be. It reminds me
Yes.
also growing up in Nigeria. We used to the other day, yesterday actually. I just had a walk with my wife and my son. We went to walk in the nature because we plan to go there on this Sunday to have some time
Yes.
together. So we're talking of actually as we were returning, we saw a little bird that was sort of sick because we couldn't fly, meaning that it was sick. No, I was telling my son, hey, look, there is a bird there. Then for them we were reflecting how it was in Nigeria in those days, no, when maybe in the chicken in the house was sick
Yeah.
like this. Then I was sharing with them how my grandmother used to treat the chicken. Maybe the chicken is having a fever.
Yes.
Chicken have fever. Sometimes it just does like that, no. Sometimes it dies, but in most of the cases, my grandma will treat the chicken the fever. Sometimes we give the
Yes.
chicken medicine, so that at the end of the day, this chicken will be well and it will be playing around again. There is this very strong connection between you and the animals around you. You know, just imagine you giving a ampicillin to a chicken and using hot water to wash the
Yes, yes.
It's really very interesting. Because these are things that you don't see now, depending on where you live. Because if you're living in the city, those things hardly come around as a
Yes,
reality. But that is as close as it can be to
to
nature. Going to
nature.
cultivate
Yes.
cocoyam, like the case of my grandmother, for example. Those were really rich memory that I cannot never forget.
They stay with you forever. Childhood memories. Yes.
All right, now let's talk a bit about. Of course, you wrote a book. We are going to talk about your book later, but let's talk about your career in nursing. That is very important. Now,
Hmm.
what would you say was it that actually, because okay, somebody suggested that you could go for nurse instead of a medical doctor, like
Hmm.
you wanted to go, no? And of course, as it turned out, you like it at the end of the day, right?
Yes. Yes.
Okay, so let's start from there. What are the things that actually kept you going in this career? Because not say you don't do it in one day. You spend a lot of time there, taking care of people and loving what you were doing. That is really very interesting. So I'm trying to
Hmm.
understand what did you like about the work you were doing.
Okay, so when I was doing my training and qualified, many years ago, 1987, I qualified, and things are much different now. So when I did my training, we were supernumerary, which meant that on each ward there was a full staffing of full quota of staff, and then the students we were just learning, so we were just observing really. Whereas from 2000 they changed everything and it all became degree, um, where the students are now, it's now a university degree, and it's not so. I mean, they do have practical experience, but a lot of it is theory based, so they don't have as much hands-on experience as we did. And for me, that is what I love: the patient contact, um, learning. I remember one of the exams we had to do. We had unseen paper, a seen paper, and then we had to write 3 essays. So the unseen paper, was just questions that you didn't know. And then the seen paper, you know, you had to study whatever it is. And I remember lying in the bath and just reciting, 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 right? These essay questions. I passed the exam and everything. Another exam I remember taking, I got stuck. When you're in the exam and you just can't remember. I couldn't remember, and it was an exam question about somebody who had a stroke, cerebrovascular accident, and I just couldn't remember. I thought, oh my gosh, what do I do now? Oh, I can't fail this exam. And going back to practical, I just remembered, say, Mr. Smith, who I nursed, and I said, right, what did we have to do? Okay, what was his medication? What was his treatment? How long was he in hospital for? What was his symptoms? And that's how I remembered. So really, for me, the practical aspects of the nursing were very, very important, and that patient contact. The bedside manner. We learned all sorts of different things. So for me, yeah, the patient contact was the best bit of it, actually.
That's great. That's great. All right. Now, but at what point did you actually find your nursing career interesting? Okay, but that I mean, at what point did you consider that, oh, this is actually what I love to do? Because sometimes as you are just starting, you don't yet know what it's going to be. Okay, you might have read about it. And
Mm.
one thing is to read about something, another thing is to experience it. So I'm trying to understand at what point did the conviction actually come to you that this is actually what you want to spend your time doing?
Okay, so I did my training in Essex, and then I came back to London, worked in different hospitals in terms of medical, surgical care. And I remember a friend and I, we wanted to go to America. So we decided that we were going to join an agency to earn some extra money, and that's what we did. She did I think she went on a ward. Now I did community nursing, so I did some work with the district nursing. So this is really working in the community, um, mainly with older adults in terms of managing and support in their care. So, for example, they could be diabetic, they may need nursing care, injections, medication, all sorts of different things. And I really loved it. And when we saved up enough money, we went to America for a week. And I came back and I thought, oh my gosh, no, this working on the wards with the doctors and all the politics that goes with it wasn't for me. I was going to move into community nursing. And within 3 months, I managed to um, have a successful interview and I started working in the community. So for me, that was a shift from working on the wards to being community based. And I never looked back from there.
Mhm. So when you say community nursing, what does that really mean? Can you like expatiate on it a bit? What makes it different from maybe the rest?
Okay, so difference between community nursing and being ward based. So ward nurse would be working, you go to the hospital, you go to a clinic. In the community, you're working and your patients are on the ward. Yes. But in the community, you go to your clients, your patients' home to look after them. So they could be living in their own home, they could be in a nursing home, but it's in the community. It's not hospital based. That's the main difference.
So you are from time to time you need to go to meet the parent, the patient at home because they cannot
Yes.
move or things like that.
Well, no, it's just that the care is in the community as opposed to being in the hospital.
Ah, okay.
Yes.
I get it. I get
Yeah.
it. But by
So
community,
they
you mean
stay
maybe
at
like
home.
old people or something like that?
It could be a mixture, mainly elderly people. But for example, if we had, we have young people who may have had an accident and need a dressing, daily dressings, or they may need to some special type of feed. No, it could be
Oh, yeah.
anything, but mainly older adults. Yeah.
So for this type of time that you spend there, having a direct touch with the parent. Yeah, sorry, I don't know why I usually
Patients.
come up with the parent with the patient. Well, what would you say you take away from there as a lesson? Because you spend a lot of time doing this work, and we could see that you actually have a passion for doing it. Yes, that is reflected in the way that you talk about it. But what do you take away from it as a lesson that you learned in your nursing career?
I learned about what did I learn from that? In terms of the patients, I learned to listen and listen to their story because many of these patients um, they weren't able to go out, and so um, they didn't have. They may not have had many friends or family to visit. So when I went to visit, I'm talking about me personally, it was an opportunity for them to, find out what's happening. Yes, there's the radio and the TV, but to have that direct contact with someone. And I really love listening to elders and their stories. They have so much wealth and information that, yeah, sometimes even though I was working, it wasn't as if I was working. I was just socializing and communicating with them. And that really helps them as well in terms of their emotional and mental health and well-being. So yeah, that was a positive part of the experience with me.
That's great. Thank you for that. Now I'm going to ask you something about your trip to Ghana, your journey to Ghana. So you tell us something about that because okay, we are African based, African diaspora based. We also love it when we sometimes make the trip to Mother Africa. So in the beginning, you did we did talk a little bit about Ghana, your be there, your journey there, and that is important. Is it your nursing that take you to Ghana, or is this something that is a part of it or apart from it? Share with me your trip to Ghana, your journey to Ghana, if you were to put it like that.
Hmm. Okay, so my journey to Ghana has nothing really to do with my work as a nurse or anything like that. It's a personal experience. So I always wanted to visit Ghana, and it never happened for many years. And then early 2019, a very dear friend, uncle figure, Mr. Colin Carter, or he's the funeral director at African Caribbean Funeral Services in Stoke Newington in London. He told me that he's organising a trip to Ghana. He's from Barbados, so he said that he was inviting some people from Barbados and he was taking them to Ghana. And I said, right, please put my name at the top of that list. I don't care when you're going, I am coming. He thought I was joking, and no, I wasn't. So I told my daughters, I have two daughters, Ebony and Eretwa, and I said, Mom, we want to come. So we all went. So I think there were about 12 of us. We went to Ghana for 10, 12 days, and it was absolutely fantastic. We toured from Accra, we went to Kumasi, we even went across the border to Togo. We went to Cape Coast. I don't know where we didn't go. We really toured. The only time that we were free was actually the morning we were leaving Ghana. Okay, our flight was 10 o'clock the night, and that day was the only time that we had free. We were leaving like 5 in the morning, not coming back sometimes until 10, 11 at night. We were out. It was a real adventure. Okay, so during the trip, I said to the others that I'm going to come back. And they were all laughing. No, of course you're not going to come back. So anyway, I came back to London and I was planning to return in January. It didn't happen. And so I booked a 6-day trip leaving Friday the 13th of March, 2020 to go to Ghana. Now, at the time, remember all of this COVID thing or coronavirus, whatever it was called, was building. I was really not paying it any attention because all I knew is I was going to Ghana on Friday the 13th. My parents, my friends were saying, why are you traveling on Friday the 13th? I said, well, I'm going to Ghana. That's all I know. Okay. So I left. I connected in Brussels, and I remember my daughter calling me and she said, Mum, they're closing Brussels airport tonight. It was about 2 o'clock in the afternoon when I got there. And I said, that's fine. I'll be in Ghana by then. Okay. And I got to Ghana, picked up by my friends, went to the accommodation, and that was it. I was in Ghana. That's all I knew. I was going to Ghana for 6 days. And really, the 6 days might not seem a lot, but at the time I had booked to attend an international Women's Day conference. I had booked to visit some students up in Eastern region, and I was going to teach them how to sew their own menstrual pads because I run a charitable group. It's called We Stap. We supply toiletries and products to girls and women in need all around period poverty here in Croydon. And so I was going to teach them how to sew their own pads, which is eco-friendly. Obviously, they wouldn't have to be buying pads every month. And I had a couple of business meetings, and it was really just to find out, could I live in Ghana? Is it somewhere I could start a business? So it was a quick trip in and out, just to do some research.
You see, here we actually do storytelling. That is all what we do here. We started just now talking about you, your parents, your Jamaican experience, your growing up in London. These are all part of storytelling. And you did something also important in that for some reason you managed to make a decision that you want to go to Ghana. And when you make up your mind, you never went back on that. You did. I want to believe that you had a really personal experience there. It is important. I usually tell many African diaspora, if you can, make a trip to Africa. It's your home. It's like no other home. I understand that there is a lot of crisis. There are a lot of poverty sometimes. Actually, man-made poverty. The poverty in Africa is not natural. It's man-made. There is a lot of war in some places. There are a lot of bad things that you can see, but there are a lot of good things also in Africa. So irrespective of what you might hear or read about Africa, if you have the possibility, please do visit Africa. See it for yourself. Know what is actually happening there. Meet the people. Embrace them. This is your real home. This is called motherland. So I'm sort of curious. Now, you went to Ghana. You spent like 12 days there, you said, when you were like... or 6
in 2019,
days? Yes. Okay, 12 days there. So I'm interested in your feeling. So when you went there, you were going to different places in Ghana. What comes to your mind? What were your thoughts? Where were your curiosity? I'm really interested in those things, in that you ask questions. What were those things that were occupying your mind? Because for you to go and then return back, it means you really felt something. Tell me about that.
So my trip to Ghana in 2019 was actually the second time I'd been to Africa. I went to Kenya, I think it was 2011, as part of another charitable group that I was involved with. So myself and my younger daughter, we went to Kenya, and that was charity based. We went to support a group of street boys in the local community. We brought all sorts of different items. We set up a library for them, etc. So it was actually my second trip to Africa. Being in Ghana, it was very emotional when I got to the airport and just came out. I was just so grateful and thankful to be back, as you say, quite rightly, in the motherland. And for a long time, I actually knew that I didn't want to retire here in London. I never envisaged, being 67, 70 and still residing in London. Yeah. So going to Ghana, our trip in 2019, it was awesome because we spent time just exploring, getting to know the local people. Okay. So I think when you go to Ghana, there are two sets of people, or some who meet in between. There are those who want to stay in East Legon and stay in the posh hotels and do all the touristy things. And there are those who want to get down to the nitty gritty to learn about the culture, the people, and really see the real Ghana. And then there was those in between. So our trip, we stayed in local accommodation. It wasn't in the center of town. It was about an hour from East Legon. And when I say local, I'm talking about, eating the local food, eating the local food, meeting, just people on the street. You go to the chop bar, just local. And even driving around, just seeing the landscape and the scenery and the people, just so friendly and welcoming. And I'm just like you. I say you have to go and experience it for yourself, because sitting here in London, remember what you see on that thing called a television, they only show you what they want to show you. Yes, and they're not showing the positive aspects of Ghana or Africa. Yes, they will show you pictures of those children carrying water, walking 6 miles before they go to school, coming back with the water, or the children with the flies all over them. Yes, that does happen in some places. For me, I have not seen that in Ghana. Yeah. So you need to go and see for yourself, because most of the pictures that they depict about Africa. And so while I was in Ghana during the lockdown, one of my missions was to show people what Ghana is. Look at where I am. Look at this road. 3 carriages going up, going down. Look at this road. This is not a mud road full of gullies and holes. This is a highway. This is what Ghana looks like.
There is a power of information there. And
Yeah.
information is not always neutral. Like you correctly said, they show you what they want to show you because, uh,
Hmm.
anyway, I don't want to go into politics.
Yes.
I don't
You
want to,
know.
because we do go
Yes.
politics here, but for today's
No.
conversation, there is no need for that. Where I want to really remain is that if you and I were to go to some place in Ghana or in Mali or in Congo, we just miss amongst the people. There is nothing really saying that You are coming from Jamaica, you are coming from the US, you are coming from Canada. If you are a member of African diaspora, you are among your people. These are your people. You
Exactly.
just miss among the people. You just get lost among your people.
Yes.
These are your people.
Yes.
I think we
Yes.
need to understand that.
Yes. And that was a beautiful thing for me. Um, and even now, I just fit in. And it's only when I open my mouth because, I'm learning the language. I'm not fluent. It's only when I open my mouth they realize, hey, madam, you're from London. You're from UK. Well, yeah. So I just mix in. I jump on the trotro. I go, local to the market. But it's only when I open my mouth they know that, hey, I'm not a Ghanaian. I'm not speaking the language.
But it's a good thing. Yesterday, I was talking with a professor in US. We were looking at the life and legacy of Du Bois. At
Mm.
the point, it was a really a long conversation, more than 2 hours interview in the series that we call Life and Legacy. So at the point, we're
Okay.
looking at what the African diaspora have done or could do more. But okay, we were looking at the time of colonialism, and even after that, now we are in the period of new colonialism, what you want to call it. In
Mm.
that the African diaspora have a big role to play, and their role is very, very delicate. In that we can simply just replicate the colonial system, try to go to
Yes.
Africa and just paint it. Uh, then we just perpetuate the old wine inside new bottle, but it remains the same. Or we
Yes.
can become the forces of revolution, try to be on the part of the people. Because now, like I said, if you and I go to Congo or go to Mali or go to Sudan or go to South Africa or go to Nigeria, we just miss among the people because these are our people. So we need to
Yes.
understand that we are talking from the point of view of the people. So it is not a simple thing to do, but we need
Mm.
to do this work. It is very important. And so that there are a lot of dimension to the situation. When you talk of African diaspora returning home, in that, first of all, not all African diaspora will return home. It is not possible. It is not compulsory that as member of African
And it's
diaspora,
not
you
for
must return
everyone.
to Africa.
It's not for everyone. No,
Okay.
it's not for everyone.
So that need to be clarified.
Hmm.
And another thing is that because you are in the diaspora doesn't mean necessarily that you are more intelligent than the people you are going to meet. So that you don't go there telling everybody, hey, this is what you need to do, this is what you need to do. No, that is what the colonialists did. If you come there and start doing the
Mm.
same thing, you're
Yes.
basically
Yes.
replicating the same thing. But
Yes.
if we are emotionally intelligent, when we get there,
Hmm.
we can easily and simply just mix among the people, understand what do they want. Maybe the little that we know, because we really know little, plus the what the people know, it can help to move the system forward. And this is where I think we have a big role to play as African diaspora participating in the development of Africa. How do you
Mm.
see that?
So I've had many personal experiences. So okay. So if you talk about my nursing background, which is based on things like safeguarding children, safeguarding adults, it's based on policies and procedures, guidelines, standard operating procedures. It's based on legislation. It's based on law. Yes, it's based on risk assessment. And so when I was in Ghana, 2020, yes, there were lots of things I had to take in. The traffic, the noise, the weather, lots of things I had to take in physically, and quite often I was, overwhelmed with it all. And then, I would see things. So for example, I might see a mother driving in the front of the car with her child in her lap. And I'd be like, oh my gosh, that child's meant to be in a car seat. Or she might be holding the baby at the back of the car. And I'm thinking, oh my gosh, that baby's meant to be in a car seat. Yeah. Or I remember I was in a car, and the person in front of me, they had a long pole coming out of their car. Yes. And I was like, oh my gosh, suppose they touch the rail, there's going to be electricity. Please stop. Don't drive behind them. There might be, they might hit the electric panic. The guy was laughing. Anyway, he stopped. And all these different experiences. But what I've learned is this is what my mind is being conditioned to look at and see. Yes. So I am decolonizing myself. That's the only way I can put it. Because I'm sure the man with the pole, he's driven along that road many times and he knows that pole isn't going to hit the electric supply up there. But I'm behind him panicking because I'm doing a risk assessment. Oh my gosh, why didn't he cut it? Or why didn't he do this? No, he knows what he's doing. Does he not? Yes. He knows what he's doing. So these little experiences, I'm showing you that it's correct what you said. I cannot go there with the same mindset that I have here in London, in the UK. I have to reevaluate things. I'm in a totally new environment. Things are done differently, and I have to adapt to that. So it's no use me going and saying, excuse me, madam, your baby should be in a car seat. Well, who said so?
Thank you for that. Thank you for that. I wish many African diaspora that are going to Africa, because many of us are guilty of that. I wish we could be understanding it like that. Then the thing will become much easier, because if we do that, we put less attention on ourselves even, because now we be like the people. Then when you understand the system, then you can from the inside begin to put your input into it. Then the effort become faster. I don't know if I make it, if I render it
Yes,
well.
you adapt quicker. So another example is a lot of people, I'm in a lot of groups, Facebook and all sorts of different social media, diaspora, expats, whatever they want to call the groups, and people looking for accommodation. Oh, 2-bedroom apartment in East Legon. Everybody wants to be in East Legon. I'm like, what is this? Or the other thing is, there are lots of people out there doing great things, building villages and inviting people, to come. But that is not for me. I personally, it suits some people, but for me, that is not what I want. Why would I leave London to go and build or buy property in a village with other people from London? Yes, where I live with the locals. There's no other. I live with the locals. I
That
live
is the
with
way
the.
it's supposed to be. That is the way. If I even when we go on holiday, I think that is the way it's supposed to be sometime. Because if you leave London and you move from there to Lagos, and you say, "Oh, yeah, of course you have gone to Nigeria." Yeah, that is true. But maybe you need to really enter into the hinterland, try to really see the people where they are coming from. Maybe exchange a little bit with them. Try not to understand. That is, you live in that experience of not understanding them in the kaleidoscope of life. I think you are going to learn more
Yes.
than a movie. Anyway, maybe I'm just overreacting there.
No, I totally agree. I totally agree.
All right, yeah. Now, if we put this in context, how do you see the possibility of able to network and do more businesses in Africa, as people of African descent, for example, going to make investment in Africa? Of course, not going there now with, okay, anyway, that is already cleared. Going there with, you are coming from Europe or from US, that I know everything. Hey, come and participate. But like now, you mingle with the people, you
mm,
understand what they need, and because of your experience, which of course many of them might not have had because it is natural, they have not passed through what you passed through. Now
yes.
you can then offer something where you are going to get return. And I can tell you there is a lot of business opportunity in Africa that we Africans can do, from food to clothing to housing. There is a
Yes.
lot of businesses we can do coming from the diaspora. But I'm
Yes.
looking at it from the point of view of working with the people, working with the people. How do you see that?
I would agree with what you said. There are so many opportunities. For me personally, it's a matter of narrowing it down because there's so many different things. So, for example, I'll give you a simple one. I went to the market at the time. Mangoes, tomatoes were in season and very cheap. I had a lady who was selling tomatoes and she couldn't sell them because everyone was selling tomatoes. Her tomatoes were getting soft. Yes. So rather than sell them cheaper to get rid of them, she didn't sell them. And so she lost the whole stock. Yes. I'm thinking, well, if you've got tomatoes and you can't sell all of them, well, why don't you look at doing, sun-dried tomatoes or canning them, other things. Same like mangoes. When the mangoes are in season, I buy them, I slice them up, I sun-dry them at home, and I can eat mangoes all year if I want to. Yeah, that's a business opportunity right there. But because, the market women may not know about these different processes, they know they buy the tomatoes and they sell them like that.
That is very important. That is very interesting. A perspective. And of course, I know if we were to go into that business plan, other variables are going to come in. But it's always good to enter into the people and see what they might need. And sort of, I believe, like the expert will usually say, that the entrepreneur is the one who finds solution to the problem of the people. And
Yes.
sometimes even what the people do not yet know that they need. Sometimes
Yes.
you are going to sell something to them that satisfy what making their life better. Because,
Mm.
like you correctly said, in Nigeria, for example, that is where I grew up to the age of 24 before I came to Europe. In the season of orange, there is a lot of
Yes.
oranges everywhere, particularly in the south where I'm coming from. Everywhere there is a lot of, because we have a lot of orange trees
Yes.
everywhere there,
Yes.
no? In the period of tomatoes everywhere, you see it all around. But when the season is out, you don't see it
You
anymore.
don't see it. It's finished.
So it becomes very scarce. You just don't see it. So if you see a very small drop of it, then you'll be very happy to pay a high price on that. But what if
Mm.
somebody can really study that and see how to conserve it in a way that you can have it all year round?
All year. Yes.
Of course, that automatically bring in another instrument, the tool,
Mm.
the storage facility that might
Yes.
not be available.
Yes.
So of course, or if I believe that even if we start identify it issue by issue according to the need of the people, the solution will be coming little by little even.
Definitely.
Maybe I don't have to be the one that will slice the tomatoes or maybe the mango and conserve it and package it and market it and transport it and sell
Mm.
it. Maybe
Yes.
if we network with ourselves,
You have a
there is
team.
somebody
Yes.
who know how. Yeah, please go. You want to say something there?
Yes. If you have a team of people, so you could have the person who is selling them, you have the buyer, and then you have the processing and the marketing sales team. So it's a whole team of people getting the tomatoes or the mango, whatever it is, from the fields to your buyers worldwide or wherever. Yeah.
I would like to touch your book. I don't know if there's any other thing you want to add there relating to the possibility of doing businesses in Africa, because I want us to touch also a bit about your book.
Yeah, so in terms of doing business I'm just talking about Ghana right now. As a diasporan, in terms of starting a business, now I can't remember if it's 200,000 or 300,000. If you want to start a business by yourself, it's big collateral. You have to have either 200 or 300,000 US dollars. Or if you want to start it with a citizen, the citizen has to have a minimum of 10% share in the business. So, you can't just start a business like that. There are guidelines and regulations in terms of starting a business, which, once you've gone through that process, obviously, everything's fine, but it's just a matter of going through the process, registering the business, paying the fees, and knowing what the local terms and conditions and regulations are. That's all I want to say about that bit. But you do need to research it. You do need to
So
do
you
something.
think that is a kind of a hindrance or something for maybe diaspora who want to go to African and invest? Is that what you mean?
It can be a hindrance if you don't have any contacts there, because if you don't, then you're going to have a lot of collateral to set it up yourself. There are companies coming up now who will help you from the diaspora if they want to set up businesses to get them, through the initial process. So things are changing, but yeah, for me, you really have to research the criteria and make sure that you're doing things properly, because the last thing you want to do is go and start a business and then find out you haven't gone through the right channels and have it closed
Mhm.
down or lose money. Nobody wants to do that.
All right. From your own experience, what do you want to share with us in terms of getting things settled there in Ghana, maybe within the area of business? What do you want to share with us? What would be your experience? Yeah.
So yeah, as you said quite rightly, there are lots of opportunities. So for me, I just like to look and listen and see. So even just going to the market, I can see, hey, I can do this or that, or it could be something in clothing. Um, Getting someone to make clothes that can be exported to the UK or sold online. There's so many different opportunities. Even food. Setting up a restaurant, a pop-up, takeaway. There are lots and lots of opportunities. It's just whether you have the collateral to get them started, and obviously the business sense to run it successfully. But yeah, lots of opportunities.
All right. Now, your book. The book are important.
Okay,
Is
my books.
it's good to write. When you write, you are living forever.
Yes,
so
yeah.
so te- tell me about it. How did you get into writing? You are a nurse. You moved from nursing to writing. Okay, I'm not saying it is possible, but share with us.
Okay, so as I said, in March 2020, I went to Ghana for 6 days. Um, and I actually returned 150 days later. Okay. So lockdown happened, and every week they kept saying, "Oh, we'll be able to fly you out next week, the week after," and then it was the next month and the next month. So I was staying with a friend, and of course, remember, I'm not working. I've got all the time in the world, and so every morning I would go onto the veranda. Sorry, I'm running in, and do my morning meditation. And I remember one morning in particular, I was on the rooftop on the veranda, and I just said, why? Why am I here? I've been here like 3 months now, and why am I here? And I always used to ask that question to myself. So, for example, when I was working in London and I'd start a new job or I'd find myself in a situation, I'd always ask, why am I here? And I'd try and find out, why am I here? There's an opportunity here, and what is that opportunity? I need to find out what it is. So I was on the rooftop and I kept saying, why am I here? Nothing. I went back downstairs, did some washing, and then I was lying on the bed. And I always have a book and a notepad. I always have a notepad and a pen near me. And I was just lying on the bed, and the words time to came to me. Time to. And I said, time to what? Time to what? What do you mean time to? And I just took my notepad and I started writing. And I started writing. And I wrote at least 10 poems that day. Okay, now I hadn't written any poetry since I was in primary school. Because I remember I used to write poetry all the time. My teacher, Mr. Fulcher, always used to say, "Oh, Jackie, you're excellent. I love your poems." English grammar, and he'd give me books to read, to expand my vocabulary. And I hadn't written any poetry since I was 12, and I just started writing these poems. And then my book coach, Dr. Ava Eagle Brown, she sent me some information about a book to business course that she was running. And at the time, remember, as I said, I wasn't working. I didn't have any money coming in. I was just living off my savings. And I said, well, how much is it? And she told me, and I thought, oh my gosh, I don't have any money. The little money I have to, use to feed myself and accommodation. And I'm here in Ghana. And I thought, no, I can't afford this. I'm going to leave it. And I kept thinking about it. And I thought, you know what? You have to invest in yourself. And so I worked out a payment plan with her. And the beauty of the course, it's not just about writing a book, because a lot of people write books, but the books are just in the library or on the shelf. They haven't done anything with it. But her main purpose was using your book as a business. Okay. And at the time, I wasn't even thinking about book. I just thought this is an opportunity. Let me just go with this course. So did the course. And what developed was, because when I was writing the poems, I wrote over 100 poems while I was there during the 5 months.
Over
I had no intent.
100 poems.
I wrote over 100 poems. And at the time, I wasn't thinking of, publishing a book. I was just writing these poems. And as the course developed, I thought, hold on here a minute. You've written all these poems. What are you going to do with them? And I said, I'm going to publish a book. And that's what I did. When I got back to the UK, I published The Overstayer in November 2020. And that was my first book. And it's really a collection of 32 poems about my experience in Ghana. So from the weather, from the food, meeting people, all sorts of different things other people had experienced. Yeah. So that's how The Overstayer was born.
Ava is a superwoman. She's really wonderful. Anyway, the interview I did with her, I love it so much.
Yes, Ava is a superwoman. Oh, she really is. I love her to bits.
Absolutely, absolutely. I'm going to have her here again.
Okay.
All right. So this book that you have put together, Overstayer, that's how you title it, right?
Yes.
Okay. What does that mean? Because that is also a very powerful title now. What does that mean to the people? What is the message you are transmitting to the people?
So I wanted to, attract attention. If you see a book called The Overstay, you're thinking, oh my gosh, where did she overstay? Why did she overstay? What happened? And who wants to overstay? It's illegal to overstay. So let me just put it there. I didn't overstay illegally. I renewed my my visa, of course. But coming up with the title, I just felt it was so appropriate because overstay in the sense that I booked to go to Ghana for 6 days and I was there for 150 days. So I overstayed in that sense, and that's how the title came up.
So, what are people saying about the book? I mean, people that have read it, what do they say about the book?
So comments that I've had and feedback, most of the people who have read it haven't been to Ghana, and they feel as if I've given them a taste of Ghana, what to experience. So, for example, there's one poem in there. It's called Accra. Let me see, what is it called? Accra Town. And it just, should I say, it just describes my experience of being in town. So being in the traffic, being in the static traffic, smelling the fumes, listening to the horns blowing, seeing people in the traffic, the hustlers, selling different things. And in Ghana, you don't have to go to the shop sometimes. You can buy everything in the traffic while you're on your way home or wherever you're going. You can buy everything from A1 bread to toilet roll, kitchen roll, fruits, bags, anything. You can shoes, clothes in the traffic while you're going home. So really,
That's a different ball game altogether. When you are coming from the West and you see that, you say, but how does it work like this? That is the system. We need to understand the system. All
I
right.
love it.
I'm
Yeah.
going to make you read from the book. You're going to pick a part that you like to read for us. Now, you get people curious. You are going to help them by giving them more feel about the book. So I want you to read a part in the book, maybe poem or a short part of it or in the beginning, any part. I want you to give people something. And of course, make sure you let them know where they can get the book so that they can read the whole part of it. Let's go.
Okay. So I am going to read the first poem called Time To. Remember, I just spoke about it, me on the veranda asking, why am I here? So each poem, this is what the book looks like. I don't know if you can see the cover.
Yeah, we can see that. Yeah.
So it's supposed to be an immigration officer stamping my passport. That's the
Oversteer.
yeah, okay. So each poem is dated, and this one was written on the 19th of April 2020, and it's the first one I wrote, and it's called Time To. Time to think, time to dream, time to grow, time to flow, time to reflect, time to restore, time to grieve, time to mourn, time to learn, time to sow, time to smile, time to sigh, time to dance, time to sing, time to wait, time to gaze, time to talk, time to walk, time to run, time to feel, time to be free, time to be me.
Thank you so much for that. It's been a while that I've not read a poem. It reminds me really how I used to read. I used to love poem. In fact, I used
Yeah,
to think I was going to be a poet because I love poems so much.
yes,
Okay, why I love poem is that they actually condense a long phrase into few things. And if you need to expand what you have just read now, you see, we're going to need a lot of words to explain them. But you
yes,
condense it so much
yes,
that you just hit on what you want to hit on. That is
yes.
powerful. I love that.
Yeah. And then the reader can expand for themselves. So, you know, time to think about what? Time to dream. What's she dreaming about? What did she dream about? So, it's correct what you said. You condense it, and then, if 10 different people are listening, have listened to what I've just written, it can mean different things to everybody.
Why do people refer to you as Ghana Guru? I wanted to I wanted to spend some time explaining that to us.
Okay, so while I was in Ghana during the time, of course, I had time on my hands. And the Ghana Tourist Authority, 2019 was the year of return, 2020 was beyond the return. And so, what Ghana Tourist Authority wanted to do was to standardize the tourist industry in terms of what the tour guides, the information that the tour guides provide. Yes? So, they put on a training that was called the Ghana Guru Training, and it's really for anyone in the tourist industry. Um, I did the training at the time. Again, I just thought, oh, Ghana Guru, yeah, let me just find out some facts about Ghana. And this is for the whole of Ghana, north, eastern, every region. And so for me, it was just personal training I was doing at the time. I wasn't thinking of going into tourism or anything like that. But again, remember, why am I here? What am I doing? What am I taking in? And anytime I learn something, it's about how can I then distribute it to other people. So I did the training, and that's how I became a Ghana guru. So the role really is to promote Ghana as a tourist, as a holiday destination for 2023 and beyond, and also to promote my role as a Ghana guru. So what I took from that is, yes, every opportunity I get, I tell people about Ghana and I invite them to come just to see for themselves. So that's where the Ghana Guru has really that's where that was born. Yeah, in terms of the Ghana Tourist Authority and the training that I undertook.
All right. Now, let me put a question to you like this. Why do you think more African diaspora? Okay, I know I already touched on it a bit before.
Mm,
When I interview particularly scholars, African historians, I do usually ask some of them, have you ever visited Africa? Have you ever gone to Africa? Uh, I'm not saying this because I think you are owing something to somebody.
mm,
I'm saying this because I think it is right for you to do. It- um, so, okay, let me put the question like this. Why do you think it is important for a member of African diaspora to visit Africa? In this case, we are using Ghana as a point of contact to visit Ghana because those are the target client of yours. No, you are telling people you are a guru now. You are not really telling Ghanaian come and visit UK. You are telling maybe the Ghanaians in UK or maybe other Africans in the UK come and visit Ghana. So those are your target,
yeah,
and of course you are selling it to them
yes.
in a way that you can convince them to come. Otherwise, they don't need to listen to you. Why should they listen to you? So, what is the why? Why should they do that?
Going back to what you said, I strongly believe that every melanated person, whether you want to say black, African, from the diaspora, Caribbean, however you want to term it, should visit, I would say, Africa. And for me personally, it's Ghana. I mean, we all know about the enslavement of our people, the slave trade, the tortures that happened over at Elmina, Cape Coast, etc. And that in itself is a very emotional experience. It's very important for people to know and understand the history of many of our people, which a lot of people don't. Um, and also, remember, here in the UK, they've led us over many years to believe that that's where we began with slavery. But we know that we were around hundreds and hundreds of years before. Yes, I don't want to go into, but I'm just putting it that way. Yeah, we have been on this earth for many thousands of years. And even if it's just to go to Cape Coast and find out the history in terms of Portuguese and all the others who enslaved our people, and the transatlantic journey and how people were distributed. Yes, that is very, 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 very important. It's very important and quite, yeah. It's just crucial for me to impart that and just invite people to come.
I think that the Africans of the 21st century do have the tools, the possibility to be able to connect.
Mm,
If we
mm.
are not connecting enough, which I think we are not connecting enough, that is just my
Yes,
opinion, because based on the resources that we have, based on the possibility that we have, you are in UK, I am in Italy. The same thing that I'm doing with you, I do with a lot of Africans in
yes,
Canada, in US, in Ghana, in Nigeria, in South Africa. Of course, the only reason I might not do more with some other African countries is because of maybe the language differences, because I'm not able to understand their language.
yes,
But for any of them that I could understand their language, there is no
mm,
limitation anymore. Whether you
yes,
are in Egypt, whether I've interviewed some Africans in China, those that are living in Dubai, those that are living anywhere you are in the
yes,
world. So,
yes.
talking of today, there is no reason why we shouldn't connect among ourselves. We have
Mm,
more than 100 million African descent in Brazil. in United States, in UK. We
Yes,
should be
worldwide.
doing, yeah, we should be doing businesses together. Even from the point of view of doing business, let benefit from our experiences. Let Okay, yesterday I was telling the professor that I think it is important that we don't let another person do the middleman for us again. Let's do this direct story. I want to learn something about a particular culture in Africa. Don't learn it through the European.
Yes.
It is not good for you as an African.
Mm.
Go home and study, or at least the best alternative is look for another person like you who can do the
Yes, to team
study
up
for
with.
you.
Yes.
We cannot rely on the European to learn about Africa. It is not possible.
Mm.
Because, okay, now we were looking at Carthage Wisdom and
Mhm.
the boys. These are some of the most educated people in the time in the United States. Then I was asking my guest, but who educated these people? Of course, I understand it, no, because now they went to Harvard, no, to Harvard University, and of course, the people that were educated, they were not African.
They
Definitely,
were
they were not
not.
educated. They're based on the point of view
Their
of
own,
Africa.
yes.
But
Hmm.
these two gentlemen have educated themselves after they have gotten education, which is what
Mm.
actually made them to stand out. And of course, this if we take out the life of Du Bois, we will even understand this evolution very clearly, how his philosophy changed along the line, which is even very natural. It is important that we connect among ourselves, not just for the purpose of talking, but also for the purpose of benefiting from our experiences. Let's do businesses together. Let's share. You need to benefit from my experience. I need to benefit from your experience. For the fact that you
Yes,
are
yes,
in London, I'm in Italy, you can be my eyes there. I can be your eyes here.
yes,
We can really
definitely.
do this and we can go far in this world. So
Yes.
thank you so much. Now, how would you like to conclude the conversation? Please go.
Okay, so The Overstayer isn't the only book that I've written. I've actually written two children's books, and they're photo books. One is about fruits, and the other one is about vegetables that are found in Ghana. And the reason, okay, I can just show you the front of this one. This is the fruit one. And the reason I wrote these books was because um, I was learning the language. So, for example, learning names of fruits, learning names of vegetables. And again, as I said, when I learn things, I think, how can I depart this information to others? Yes. And so, as a photographer, I love taking pictures. So, I took pictures of different fruits. And the book is it's in English and in Tree, which is one of the local dialects. In English is the main language, and then there are lots of different dialects: Fanti, Hausa, Ewe, Tree, lots of different languages. So what I've done with this book, it's a collection of fruit. So we've got things from apple, avocado, banana, breadfruit, coconut, tomatoes, watermelon, sugarcane, orange, mangoes. Sorry, and there's a picture of the fruit. It's written in English, and then the tree with the pronunciation. So mangoes is a mango. Jackfruit is zibor. Cocoa is cocoa. Coconut is kube. So it's really just another extension. And for me, language is very important. What I found, which I didn't know, and this is, I'm learning all the time. So I'm connected with a charitable group in Croydon. It's called Kiwanis, and Kiwanis is an international charity. And the main aim is really serving children of the world. So basically, what we do, we fundraise and then we help different groups in Croydon. When I was in Ghana, I spoke to members, and the president, etc., decided that it would be a good idea for us to raise funds to supply a library to a group of children in Eastern region. And so we fundraised. When I was in Ghana, I went out and I bought all the books, spoke to them, bought all the books, took the books to them. One interesting thing that I found out was that children are not taught in their local dialect. Okay, they're taught in English. I didn't know that.
That is a Pandora.
Oh my gosh. I mean, we can talk for hours about this one. And for me, language is so important. So, and the books that I bought, they were very, I was very particular in choosing books that depicted the children. So, the characters had to look like them. Yes, that was number one. And I also brought some books in the local dialect tree. And when I brought them, the teacher said, "Oh, why did you buy these ones?" And I said, "Because isn't that one of the main spoken dialects here?" "Well, we don't teach them in that." And I couldn't understand. We don't teach them in the language. Okay. Yes, they speak it at home. But for me, language is very important. And if we are not teaching our children to speak in their local dialect, what is going to happen? What happens to the culture? In fact, I think it's South Africa. There's a tribe where there's only one lady left who speaks the local dialect, and she's actually just written a children's book so that the language doesn't die. But yes, of course, it could die. I mean, here in the UK, I know a lot of the children I'm talking about Ghana, it could be anywhere else, it could relate to lots of different places, of Ghanaian descent. They do not speak their mother tongue. Their parents do not teach it to them, right? So if their parents are my age, say in their 50s, and they're not teaching their local dialect to their children who could be in their 30s and their grandchildren, etc., what will happen in a few generations' time? That is why when they go back to Ghana and aunties are talking to them, they don't know what they're saying.
Like I said, that is a Pandora. It really need to be
Yes,
explained. That are
yes,
legs and hands, and it's a beautiful argument to take on. I
yes,
love to really have it. I've had it before, but I would like to have it again. It's
yes,
important.
yes,
Our language, the evolution of
yes,
it, how we use it in school. What? Anyway, just go on, please.
yes, yes, it is. I've got a friend, and his son is 7, and he sent me his school report the other day. Brilliant, brilliant, brilliant. And they said, "Oh, he's not doing very well in French." And I said, "Pardon?" He said, "He's not doing very well in French." I said, "What do you mean French?" "Oh, they're teaching him French." And I said, "Hold on here a minute. They're teaching your 7-year-old son French in school, but they're not teaching him his local dialect. Are they going to take him on holiday to France for a week for him to experience the French culture? Why are they teaching him French?" He couldn't tell me. I said, "You know what? If you are having to pay extra for that French lesson, you better stop now. Don't waste your money. Your child doesn't need to know how to learn to speak French, right? Get his grandmother. You teach him his local dialect so that, yes, I'm sorry. You might think I'm wrong, but
I interviewed a professor here, a linguist, and a linguistic expert. He's coming from Benin. So we talked about language. He told me he
yes,
was born during the period of colonialism. So at the time, if they spoke their local language, they would be
yes,
flogged. I
yes.
mean,
We
it
know
was
the history of this.
forbidden
Yes,
to speak their
yes,
local language.
yes,
Now, when I was in school, that happened during colonialism. But when I
yes.
was in school a few years ago, because I'm only
You're a
when I
young
was
man,
going to
yes.
school, I was flogged too for speaking local dialect. It's called vernacular. You cannot speak vernacular in the class. You need to speak English.
Yes,
Now, you ask a very good question. You are training me to speak English. Okay, that's fine.
yes,
Now, because it's not only English, it is all about the curriculum that we really should be talking about. Because of course, I've also interviewed a lot of educationists and expert in education in this area.
yes.
That our curriculum are designed as
English,
if we are educating African people who are going to be needed in European market.
yes.
We are not educating them to solve African problem.
Not at
So
all.
now, when they finish school, they're asking, where is my job? Of course, the job
Yes.
is not here.
No.
You were not trained to be here. You were trained to go out. You were
Yes.
trained to become an immigrant somewhere in Europe, in Canada, or in
Yes.
US. Because if
Yes.
that was not the objective, the
Yes.
curriculum should have been designed differently.
For you to stay here where you are. Yes.
So it's all part of the plan.
Yes.
It is not accident at all. Anyway, that is something that we can actually look into again because it's interesting.
And, I've spoken to a lot of people, and there are many parents, even in Ghana, they don't want their children to speak local dialect. They want them to speak English. That's why I'm sending them to nursery. That's why I'm sending them to that school. So they speak English. I don't know how we're going to resolve this. I don't know.
Anyway, we are barely scratching the surface on that
Yes,
part. But
yes.
anyway, maybe you need to come back. And we will take on that argument. It is important because we are barely scratching the surface of how the system work
We
in
are
Africa.
scratching the surface because in other cultures, if they're Indian, if they're Chinese, right? Wherever they're from, do they not learn their mother tongue? Yes, they do. Do they not speak it? Do they not have their classes and their schools where they speak their mother tongue? Yes, they do. But yet still we are expected, not to speak ours and just speak English. By
And
next year, by next year, I'm giving myself a very, very big task, right? I need to be fluent in tree. I need to be fluent. I understand more than I can answer, but I need to
that,
be. I don't want to
that
be speaking English in Ghana. I don't.
the language is just one part of it, but it's an entire system that is designed. And we're just looking at language is the 360-degree circle. But there are a lot
Yeah.
of things that we can actually look into because they're all working together.
Yes,
Otherwise, it will not work.
yes,
Anyway,
yes,
thank you so much for the sharing. I really appreciate the time and I
yeah,
appreciate also the
yeah.
conversation. It has been really very enriching for me. Thank you.
Oh, Mama Ajwa, I didn't explain Mama Ajwa. So
Oh,
here in
please
the
go.
UK,
Do it. Do
yes,
it.
here in the UK, my name is Jackie Morrison. In Ghana, I'm known as Mama Ajwa, and that came about because when I was staying at my friend's place, lots of children around, there was another lady called um, Ajwa. So to differentiate between the two of us, they wanted to call me Grandma Ajwa, and I said, no, 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 you can't call me that. I'm sorry. My daughters at the time they were 30 and 21. And I said, no, I'm not a grandma. I'm not a grandma. My daughters don't have any children, so I'm sorry, you can't give me that title. I'm not a grandma. So they decided to call me Mama, Mama Ajwa. That's how that's how the name came about. And my youngest daughter is also Ajwa. So, I'm a mother, Mama Ajwa. That's how that came about. Um, for me,
That's
writing is very
lovely.
important, and that is why I've written, the Overstayer and now the children's books in about fruits and vegetables. There's a whole series that I'll be doing, and the plan is once I get back to Ghana, I will be distributing them in nurseries, etc., schools. Um, Going back to Dr. Ava, my book coach. Now, remember I spoke about the book to business. So the whole of my business, it's under the title of With Love from Ghana. Okay, so With Love from Ghana takes in the books, the Overstayer, the fruits and the vegetables, and also bringing together my Ghana guru experience and my love of travel and photography and inviting people to come to Ghana. I've also started hosted tours, which means I'm able to invite people to come to Ghana officially. Okay. I'm very excited because my first group of visitors will be coming in November. I have 15 people, or we have 15 people booked to visit Ghana in November. It's their first trip. And so we're just working out, the schedule, places that they'd like to go. In terms of the trips, we have three dates. So September 14th to 23rd, October the 11th to 20th, and November the 14th to 23rd. All information is on the website, which is, remember I said everything is with love from Ghana. So it's withlovefromghana.com. If you're interested in the tours or to find out any more information about me, just go to the website and you'll be directed to the information. So the tours are over 9 days and nights, and they encompass visiting Accra, 2 nights in Kumasi, and then also visiting Cape Coast. We include the accommodation. We pick you up from the airport. So it's airport transfers. We include the accommodation, your transport while you're in Ghana, taking you around. It includes breakfast and dinner, your tour guide, your entrance fees to all the sites and everything. What's not included is the flights, because we are not a travel agent, we're just a tour operator. So once you get to Ghana, that's where we're responsible from. So you will need to book your own flights, and obviously visa if you need visa, any type of vaccinations, etc. So that is kind of, what I'm concentrating on at the moment. And we do offer bespoke packages as well. So for example, you might be thinking, well, why is the tour in September? So July, August, June, July and August, they're free at the moment. So if anybody wants to come during those times, they will just contact us or contact me, and then we will work out a package in terms of how long you want to stay, where you want to visit, and really just make your visit to Ghana as beautiful and exciting, learning about the culture and the history, meeting the locals, and just falling in love with the motherland and Ghana. In terms of contacts, social media, Instagram, again, it's with love from Ghana. That's the main contact. The website is withlovefromghana.com, and email is hi at withlovefromghana.com. So that's me, Mama Ajwa. Thank you so much. I think I've said everything. But for me personally, it's really just about just coming to Ghana. And if I was to tell you what my target client is, I mean, there are lots of groups inviting people to come to Ghana. People who come down in December who want to party and drink. That's not really my client group. My client group, really, I'm looking for people who are, 45 plus, older generation, who may have never been to Ghana before, even Africa. They want to come and see, what we have to offer. They may be thinking of semi-retirement or retiring to Ghana, looking at purchasing land or property, renting, or even just coming for 3 months or 6 months of the year when it's, cold and snowing in the UK, or just to have a beautiful holiday in the motherland. So that's what I'm doing. That's what I'm working on. And hopefully I'll be back within the next 2 weeks.
That's lovely. Thank you, Mama Ajwa. That is interesting. I enjoyed the conversation.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Take care. Madasi.
If you enjoyed this podcast, make sure you subscribe so you never miss any of our future episodes. Rate and review Obehi Podcast and share with your friends who might need it. I remain Obehi Ewafo. Thank you so much for listening, and talk to you in the next episode.